Something special is happening in Montreal as one player in particular has just teased what's to come for Habs fans this season, and it has Habs fans absolutely fired up. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Hatrick HQ, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening around the league, with the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Vancouver Canucks, all the way to the Winnipeg Jets, go down below, hit that free subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on around the NHL. But KC, let's get into it. One player in particular has taken Montreal Canadiens fans by storm, but not just him, the whole team at this point heading into this year based on what they've been building, after last season. And obviously talking about Demidov here, and we're going to get into him, of course. But what do you make? I'll throw it over to you right away. What do you make of everything that's happened since, I guess, the end of last season? I mean, a really good run for the team. They end up making the playoffs. They look like they belong against the Washington Capitals. Heading into this year, you're getting more help. You have Demidov coming too. This looks like a sneaky good team, a team that is poised to make the playoffs again. And they have a guy here who looks like he's going to be absolutely electric at the NHL level.
I mean, we see a lot of great flashes from Demidov in the playoffs last season when he did come over, and had a lot of Habs fans fired up then for the next season, just getting to see him in a full year's action. And then he goes out to a prospect game and lights it up with a goal, 2 assists, pulling off some Deeks Datsuk-esque. And I think, personally, it might be a bold statement to make, I think Demidov is the next Pavel Datsuk. I haven't seen somebody with hands like him in the NHL in a very, very long time. This guy's pulling off moves that just leaves you with the stank face, just going, oof, like, how did he make that happen? He is filthy. His moves are disgusting. I mean, I had stank face that much watching that game the other night. I needed a whole new wrinkle care routine the next day. I mean, this guy is the next best star in the NHL. We're seeing flashes of it, obviously early in a prospect game, but when you're sending a defenseman to the shops by just hitting off the back of the net, he's going flying over the net head first into the boards. You know he got something special. It's not just his deking as well. His passing has been phenomenal. In that game, we've seen a tic-tac-toe play, just setting up one of the Habs players for a goal as well. This guy is special. This guy, I think, is an even more exciting player on the team than Lane Hutson, which is crazy to say because that guy is an insane player in his own right. The Montreal Canadiens have something special here, and I think this is the season we're going to see them jump from fringe playoff team to competing with the big dogs like the Florida Panthers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Absolutely. They're going to take a step. And that's me saying this from the outside looking in, not a Montreal Canadiens fan, but Casey, of course, everyone's so excited about this season coming up based on what happened last season. And, Canadiens Muse is going on to say that, this is what he's predicting for his rookie season. I don't even think it's that far fetched, right? He's just absolutely electric offensively. Lane Hutson also spoke out on his teammate and he said he's a special talent, a special work ethic. To see what he does every day is really impressive. We're very fortunate to have him. And a lot's been made out of, his play when he came in last season. And he, was absolutely electric in that first game, scored the 2 goals, right? And people were like, wow, look at that. Slowed down a little bit. And there's some questions about the defense, but that's going to come with time, right? You can't teach what he has, right? That electricity that he brings to a lineup and what he can, bring to a team and inject into a team. So I think it's good, it's going to be a very interesting season. We'll get into some, projections in terms of what the Canadiens will do in a second. Stay tuned for that. But one thing I wanted to bring up too, Casey, and you brought up a good point about this off air is, the Montreal Canadiens, they've been doing really well, right? And I think the management team should be rewarded for that. So it looks like the Canadiens will be resigning at some point. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of numbers and length and stuff like that. But GM Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, it looks like they're going to be sticking around. And honestly, I'll throw it over to you, again, from the outside looking in, for good reason. This team has been taking steps forward. They look like they're going to continue to take steps forward. And again, we'll get into projections in a second, but I have them making the playoffs again and maybe over some teams that would surprise people.
Yeah, I mean, as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I knew going into the first beginning of the rebuild, there was going to be dark days as a Montreal Canadiens fan. But little to my surprise, it wasn't for very long, and they weren't very dark. I mean, it might have been dim days, but it definitely wasn't dark days, because as soon as we drafted guys like Cole Caulfield, Lane Hudson, Demidov, now we're seeing all these prospects that Kent Hughes and that front office drafted, just becoming stars in their own right. And being a younger team in this league, and coming out last season, making the playoffs, putting the league on notice. Yes, it's a lot of the players on the ice, but it's the guys in the head office that should deserve some credit for building this team. We see them go out last year, make a big trade with Line. Maybe some Habs fans say it didn't pay off. Some are still waiting for it to pay off. But this organization, this front office isn't afraid to make moves. We've seen Kent Hughes go out, acquire a bunch of picks, and now we're seeing those picks transition into the next Montreal Canadiens team for the years to come. I think this front office deserves all the respect and deserves all their dues to be paid to them, because they built this team in a very short amount of time, and I'm very excited to see how far this team can get this season.
Absolutely. And when you look up and down the lineup, as you can see on your screen right now, I think there's some interesting storylines heading into the year too. I mean, they just traded for Zach Bolduc, who's a great young player as well, that could possibly play in the top six moving forward. What's happening with Patrick Laine? What do you do with that money that's freed up? You just traded Carey Price. Joe Veleno, I think, is an interesting story. Like, this is a pretty well-built team, I have to say. It is still very young, and there's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some pain, but you added Noah Dobson on the back end. You have Lane Hudson, who's been unbelievable. This is a solid team, I think. And again, the inexperience might show through at times this year, but I think that's okay as long as you're taking steps forward. The goaltending also looks pretty good. A lot of people were doubting Montembeault. Had a pretty good season last year, right? So, Casey, I think it's time we move into some projections, right? And predictions this year. You can see this. This is the standings from last season and where the Montreal Canadiens fell. Obviously, a wild card spot, made the playoffs, against the Washington Capitals. Personally, from the outside looking in, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. When you look at the Senators, when you look at the Panthers, you have to ask yourself, are the Montreal Canadiens in this division? It's a tough division. Of course, everyone knows Central is tough as well. But are they, 5 wins better this year? And I think the answer is yes, because they have a year of experience under their belt. Lane Hudson's going to be that much better, right? Like a bunch of these guys, Demidov's rookie season. So I do think the answer is yes. I think that they actually take a divisional playoff spot this year. I do still think there's some great teams there. The Lightning are in the mix. I think the Leafs are going to be at the top again. But the Montreal Canadiens will make the playoffs again in a divisional spot. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I like how you said that, because that's right where my mind is at. I mean, we've seen a lot of these guys last year take a major step in Suzuki in clutch time when they're down a goal. He's the guy who's going out and tying the game every night. I mean, we've seen that a lot from him last year. Caulfield had another great step forward last season. Slafkovsky, maybe the biggest improvement, most improved player from last season for me. And now you have a guy in Demidov, reigning Calder winner in Lane Hudson. The list goes on and on for how good this team is. I think it's only a matter of time they take that divisional spot. I think it's this season. I do think that it's going to be a tough battle. I don't think it's going to be a clear first, team. It could be the Leafs. It could be the Panthers. I think the Lightning and the Habs and the Senators are going to be battling for that third divisional spot. And I think the Abs could edge out the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially now that they're getting a little bit older.
Definitely. And I think when you look at the division, I mean, the Florida Panthers are going to be dealing with a lot this year. They're missing Matthew Tkachuk. Of course, still a great team, but we saw that last year, they fell to the third spot. And then, they're going to be dealing with injuries like every other team. Matthew Tkachuk's going to be out. They have to deal with the salary cap implications because there's a new rule this year heading into the playoffs, right? So they're going to have to deal with that. So what's that going to look like for them? You don't know what the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be this year. You imagine they're going to be pretty good, right? The Tampa Bay Lightning, kind of a wild card too. I would imagine they're going to be near the top. And then Ottawa and Montreal, to me, like anything, it could go either way, right? Like they're very similar teams and similar ages too. So it's going to be a very interesting season. We're going to keep you covered here on the channel for everything that's going down. But let us know how you feel about the Montreal Canadiens. Demidov, what are your predictions? Let us know down in the comments, because the conversation always continues down there. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on around the NHL.